Shake Shack reached over 300 locations and $5 billion in valuation just 20 years after being founded, as the millionth burger restaurant in the United States, without ever franchising. So, how'd they do it? That is what we're going to talk about in this video, because there's 7 secrets that we can learn from their success in building our own businesses. Let's dive right into it, starting with lesson number 1, starting small strategically. Danny Meyer chose to put Shake Shack in a tiny location that was just 900 square feet. It was a pop-up space next to the park, wasn't even intended to be a full restaurant space, and that ended up being a secret to their success. It wasn't because Danny Meyer, Shake Shack's founder, couldn't afford a bigger space. He was already an extremely successful restaurateur and multimillionaire who owned 10 of the most popular restaurants in New York. Yet he chose to put Shake Shack in as small a space as possible because he knew what the smaller location would mean for his business. Meaning that when a restaurant space is small, even just having a few customers in at a time makes it look very busy to people passing by. And in those early days, that meant that they could immediately have a line outside at all hours, since there was no space inside for customers to sit or wait in line. So people had to line up outside in order to get their food. That created huge amounts of social proof. People passing by would notice the huge line and think to themselves, wow, what's going on over there? That place must be really good, because they always have a line out the door. Then, as the restaurant caught on, the line got bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually, this became the ultimate free marketing tool for Danny. Not only did Danny get the original location size right, but he had another genius idea to make sure that he became known for that line outside the door, which was actually lesson number 2, using new tech as a competitive advantage. Danny invested over $50,000 from the beginning in creating a custom website for Shake Shack. And in 2004, that was a very rare thing to do. But his tech strategy didn't end there, because as soon as he started having those lines outside his door, which was pretty fast given the small space, he put what's called the Shack Cam on his website, which was this experimental new technology that live streamed a feed during his open hours. He said the reason was so that people would know how long the line was and how long they'd have to wait for Shake Shack. But from a marketing perspective, this had a huge benefit, which is that even people that were discovering his concept online immediately saw the social proof of having a huge line outside the door. So you might be wondering, Adam, what if I don't have a line outside my restaurant? And what if I haven't chosen a strategically small space? Is there a way I can use this? And the good news is the answer is yes. There's a few different ways to use this same psychology to make your restaurant more popular. Here are the ways that I see work best. First is having a featured reviews section on your homepage if you don't already. The best reviews to show off are the ones that either talk about how great your experience consistently is, generally, or that talk about how much they love a specific dish that you're trying to sell more of. Having a section like this where people can quickly see reviews of your restaurant increases how many website visitors end up placing online orders or going in person, because it's so psychologically powerful to see what other people think as you're evaluating a restaurant. 70% of people check online reviews before placing online orders. So if you can control the ones that they see, you increase the odds that they end up picking your restaurant. The other system I see working really well for this is placing a like counter or a popular tag on menu items themselves, either on the online menu or on the online ordering system. This helps because people can then see what other people like. And when they see a dish is especially popular, it makes it that much more tempting to try that dish on their first order, and they become that much more intrigued to order from you. We see conversion rate greatly increase when there's that social proof as part of the online ordering experience. You may have noticed that DoorDash is the one that made this system popular, but it also works really well if you could build it into your website or your online ordering system to increase sales for the same reason. Speaking of increasing sales, if you want me to check out your restaurant's website and comment ideas on how to tweak it to drive more sales based on what I've seen, then just comment your restaurant's name and city below. I will completely for free take a look and share ideas based on what I've seen work best, helping thousands of restaurants with their websites over the past 6 years. So back to Danny Meyer. Danny's investing in new technology didn't end with his website. He famously created one of the very first branded mobile apps for Shake Shack, way before every other large restaurant group did. And it cost him millions of dollars because he partnered with Olo and a custom development agency called Fuzz and hired internal developers to continuously tweak and create the perfect online guest experience for him. It was a bold move, but he knew that it was worth it because of this next lesson, which is lesson number 3, protecting direct customer relationships. The reason Danny invested invested so early and aggressively in having his own app is that he saw what was happening to his friends in the hotel industry. At first, travel apps like Expedia seemed great because they promised new incremental business and their fees were reasonable. So hotels agreed to start using Expedia and all of the rest. But then they saw more and more of their existing customers being cannibalized by Expedia, who wouldn't even share their info anymore and whose fees got higher and higher, wiping out that hotel's profit margin and control over their customer relationship. And many of the independent hotels were put out of business by this effect. Sound familiar? To Danny, it did. And so even as Grubhub was getting big in New York City in the mid-2000s, right in his backyard, he made sure that he owned his customer relationships online and didn't become dependent on third-party apps. That meant pouring millions into having his own Shake Shack app to play a huge role in that. He also realized that it would do more than just make his business more efficient by saving him on those fees or saving him the customer relationships. Because when he went to raise money for Shake Shack in the early days, which is how he expanded without franchising, he was differentiated to investors through being so tech forward. They would see he had a top tier website and his own branded mobile app and a huge database of online customers who had that app installed, and that meant location tracking and push notification to all of those customers. So investors would be much more excited about backing his business because of the strong technical foundation that he built. Location tracking through his own app was also a strategy that he could use to figure out where to put new locations based on where customers tended to be. He could see their locations. And push notifications allowed him to instantly surge sales through sending alerts right to people's devices in a format that is read 40 times faster than email. So when he pitched investors to fund opening new locations, they knew that he had a base of hundreds of thousands of engaged customers to de-risk their investment. And he was constantly running promotions and running incentives which reward people for having his app, so that base only grew over time, and today it's one of the top restaurant apps in the entire App Store. Here are some of the incentives that I've seen him use. He offers exclusive menus for downloading his app or ordering directly from his online ordering system. The most popular one is called the Hot Menu. The only way you can order the hot chicken sandwich or the spicy cheese fries from Shake Shack is through downloading their app or placing a direct online order. That's how they've gotten millions of installs and over 500,000 five-star reviews in the App Store. If you're thinking, this sounds great, Adam, but I don't have millions of dollars to invest in my own app, then I have great news for you. Because we've spent the past 6 years studying what Shake Shack and Chipotle and Sweetgreen have done and what's worked so well for them in order to create technology that enables independent restaurants to have their own app. It integrates with restaurant point of sale systems and then gives you your own app, which makes reordering take just seconds for regulars and gives you those same location tracking and push notification abilities that so many top apps have. So if you want to take a look at that, then visit Owner.com to see a demo. Anyway, another key to Shake Shack's success has been their unique approach to recruiting. That is the next lesson. Lesson number 4, the 51% rule to team building. Danny Meyer, Shake Shack's founder, has trained all of his managers and leaders to pick employees based on this rule, where he says that 51% of what they look for in team members is mindset and only 49% is skill set. That's very different from what I see most restaurant operators do, which is they look first for skill set in the form of experience and a relevant background, and then mindset is kind of an afterthought. What Danny asks himself as he is interviewing his team is, can this person empathize with others? Does it seem like they get things done and show up to work with a positive attitude? Not, does this person have the skill or have they been a line cook before? Because his attitude is that skill is easy to teach, but empathy is not. He calls the other thing he looks for the excellence reflex, meaning he asks himself, does this person care about excellence in the things they do? And then once he recruits those people, he treats them like gold. Secret 5 is treating employees like gold. Notice that I didn't say pay employees like gold, because interestingly, Shake Shack doesn't pay employees much higher than usual fast casual brands do, even though they're a much more profitable than usual restaurant. What they do instead is they create an environment which makes employees feel valued at work. For example, when new employees would join Danny's team, he would do an orientation lunch with all new employees every month, where he'd get to know them as people and make them feel valued. He was also early to set up a shared calendar system, which made it easy for his his team members to swap shifts and give them that flexibility. He also gave them a 60% discount on food, basically just charging them the food cost so that they could eat whatever they wanted at work affordably, and created kickoff meetings in the morning where they would get to review what was working and what was not working to focus on. This created an environment where people felt that management cared about them and was invested in them growing, which in turn led to much higher levels of service and employee retention. Those levels of service helped create the brand reputation that Shake Shack's become known for. But that was only part of that brand reputation, because that's actually the next lesson and the biggest secret to Shake Shack's success. Secret 6, building brand from the beginning. Danny had seen the power of brand in his other restaurant concepts, so he invested heavily in it from the start at Shake Shack. It's how he was able to charge more than double what McDonald's charges, even though he had a smaller storefront and a very similar menu. It started with him knowing exactly who his target customer is. Upper middle class men in their 30s and 40s. That is Shake Shack's target demographic. You may think that a burger restaurant should try to be loved by everybody, but that is a losing strategy, because all of the restaurant brands that have succeeded over the past 30 years are loved by some and hated by others. In the case of Shake Shack, their first location was at Madison Square Park, right across from all of the office buildings. And those office buildings had high-income tech workers in their 30s and 40s working in advertising on Madison Avenue or in tech. And Danny has this great quote about his restaurant building strategy, where he says that when a restaurant can serve as an unofficial club for a group, that it takes on additional mystique and leads to more and more business. So he set out with that Shake Shack location to build the unofficial club for those high-income tech workers in their 30s and 40s right off of Madison Square Park. And step 1 was focusing on his ideal customer. Then what he did next was genius. He realized that to stand out to those people like a club, that he needed to align with what they thought was cool. And he realized that they thought two things were cool: the 1950s period of greasers and tech. The name Shake Shack actually came from the movie Grease. It's mentioned near the end when John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John sing "You're the One That I Want." They mention Shake Shack as the ride they're on. He knew that some people would get the reference and think it was cool, particularly the advertisers on Madison Avenue. And in that theme, he created a layout, an interior design, and signage which felt like a 1950s burger spot. But he also knew that there was another thing that his target customer found cool: tech and the future. So he aimed to make it feel futuristic at the same time. That's where they got that future-looking Shake Shack icon, and why the illustrations on their packaging look so techy even though it's got a 1950s theme. Those people who were his ideal customers saw Shake Shack as being a super premium, cool option that felt almost like a club to them. Here's where things get really interesting. Shake Shack today has become known for their gourmet food, like their freshly made crinkle-cut fries or Korean burger options. But in the early days, the menu was super similar to McDonald's and Burger King. Their fries weren't even freshly made at the time. For years, they were just like McDonald's and Burger King, frozen fries, and they were still able to charge double or triple for their milkshakes and their fries. Imagine what happens to your expansion budget if you're able to charge double or triple the usual rate and yet have a very similar food cost to McDonald's or Burger King. You make more than double the amount of profit per order. And on top of that, Shake Shack had lower build-out costs with that tiny 900 square foot location, no in-store seating, minimal signage, and a similar menu to McDonald's and Burger King. The reason for that is brand. Customers saw the cool packaging and felt at home with the 1950s theme and the futuristic vibes, and immediately that signaled to them premium, cool experience. They said to themselves, wow, this place looks cool. Secret 7, premium pricing power. Danny could have thought to himself, we're going to price the same as McDonald's and Burger King, but offer a better product, because that will mean more customers and winning more sales in the long term. Better product for cheaper, or better product for the same price. I see restaurant owners fall into this trap all the time, but there's important research which proves that it's a mistake, and it actually comes from the wine world. They've done studies on how people rate wine quality, where they put the $2 wine in the fancy $100 bottle and the $100 wine in the $2 bottle. And what they find every single time is that people always rate the $2 wine as being higher quality than the $100 wine if they think it's coming from the $100 bottle. The lesson here is that price can lead to people thinking of a product as being higher quality, and brand changes the price people are willing to pay. That's why Danny Meyer invested so heavily in brand from the beginning. Not to say that his food wasn't quality. He was also passionate about the culinary part and able to provide gourmet food. They knew who their customer was, that tech worker in their 30s or 40s on Madison Avenue, and they created an experience which they saw as premium. So if you're building a restaurant, it's key to know who your customer is, create an experience which makes them feel at home and like they're in a club where they belong, and then be willing to charge more than market prices so that people use that higher price as a signal for quality and incorporate it in how they rate your food and rate your restaurant, while giving you higher profit margins. Anyway, let's summarize the business secrets behind Shake Shack's success. Secret 1 was selecting that strategically small location to create the line out the door effect. Secret 2 was using new technology early, specifically the Shack Cam and the branded app. Secret 3 was protecting direct customer relationships, but instead creating an app experience that customers prefer to use over the delivery apps so that they're able to maintain those direct customer relationship and use them as an asset for expansion and fundraising. Secret 4 is recruiting for mindset over skill set. Secret 5 is treating employees like gold. Secret 6 is building brand from the beginning. And Secret 7 is premium pricing power. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I post multiple new videos per month on the secrets of growing a restaurant business in 2024. So if that sounds interesting to you, then click that subscribe button down below, because in addition to Shake Shack's story, I've studied thousands of other restaurants, both independents and large corporations, and I'm constantly sharing the biggest learnings from their success stories so that as you're building your restaurant, you can incorporate those secrets to create similar success. Anyway, hope this was helpful and hope to see you around here soon if you clicked subscribe. Take care.